So Call of Duty Modern Warfare was announced today. We got the trailer for it. It's coming October 25th. PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, blah, 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 blah. But it's not so much the revealing of that game that matters at the moment. It's this news that is going around that a Call of Duty game might be or will be coming to Nintendo Switch. And this is because of an update to the official Call of Duty website, where in the source code it now lists the Nintendo Switch. And some people have taken this to mean that we are going to get a Call of Duty game on Switch. If not this one, it could be a port of an old one, maybe Modern Warfare remastered, Black Ops 2 ported over, who knows, right? It could mean a billion things. It could also mean absolutely nothing. And I want to talk about it briefly here because I think people are blowing this out of proportion. I've seen numerous videos with titles that, hey, Call of Duty's coming to Switch, or Call of Duty's coming to Switch, or, hey, because it says NX Dock or something, this has to do with the Switch Pro and Switch Mini, and that is confirmed now because of this. Like, it doesn't mean anything. The code base, for those who don't know, on the Call of Duty website also includes things like Google Chromecast and Amazon Fire TV. Call of Duty doesn't exist on those platforms either. So you might be like, well, why are they adding these platforms to the source code if they're not planning to put games on it? Just to have them there. That's all. Just to have them there. A just in case sort of thing. Might as well be ready in case something happens someday. As an example, streaming services are coming out, and potentially a streaming service could come to Switch. And if a streaming service does come to Nintendo Switch, I assume Call of Duty would be on that streaming service. Hence, you would see this available on Switch through a streaming service. We're not talking about Call of Duty natively coming to Nintendo Switch. I wish we were. I wish that's what this meant. That this meant at E3, despite not being announced for Switch today, that Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the brand new one, Modern Warfare 4, but they're just calling it Modern Warfare, is coming to Switch, right? I wish that would be something we could expect to see at E3. And I would love to be proven wrong. In fact, Activision, Nintendo, prove my doubts wrong and announce Modern Warfare coming to Switch at E3 during Nintendo's Direct. But I don't think that's happening. It's using an all-new engine. Now, it is supposed to be a more scalable engine, which you could argue might favor bringing the game to Switch, but it's probably more likely favoring the future, where we're talking about next gen with PlayStation 5, Xbox 2, new 7nm processors from Ryzen, 10nm from Intel, all that great stuff, and PCI Express 4.0. Like, we're probably talking future-proofing an engine rather than talking about going backwards in technology. So yeah, I don't think that that's the case. It's using a brand new engine for a reason. I honestly think that we're at this point where a lot of Switch owners just want to believe. Whether you're a YouTuber, whether you're a fan, whether you're just Joe Schmo on the street, you want to believe that any game that's popular is coming to Switch, because Switch has a big install base at this point. I don't think we can sit here and deny that fact. It's probably on par with Xbox One, or pretty darn close to on par with Xbox One's lifetime sales, and they're getting big games like Call of Duty. And the Switch continues to be the number one selling system every single month in 2019. So there's kind of this thought process out there that if there was ever a year to bring your game to Switch, now is the time. Switch is as popular as it's ever been. There's all these big Nintendo games that are going to be pushing huge Switch sales this year. Potentially a mini coming, maybe a new model of Switch this year or next year. It's a great time to decide, hey, look, we haven't been supporting Switch much, but let's jump in and start tossing games at it. Mortal Kombat 11 was the number one selling game on Switch for an entire month. Like, things are looking up for AAA third-party support. Why can't we get Call of Duty? Why can't we get Assassin's Creed? Why can't we get all these games? Skull and Bones. Why? Well, the reality is that just because Nintendo Switch popped up in the source code on a website has nothing to do with actually getting the game on Switch. I wish it did. And normally I jump all over this speculation and say there's a chance. And you know what? I'll give it a chance. There's a chance that some sort of Call of Duty game might come to Switch. If I had to bet, it's probably a really old port, but there is a chance, of course. After all, Vita had Call of Duty games, so sure, we could get some unique spin-off old port Call of Duty game on Switch that is not even remotely as good as the modern Call of Duty games. But if I was a betting man, and I fancy myself a betting man once in a while, I would put money down on the fact that this does not have anything to do with Switch getting a Call of Duty game. This is just them adding every platform that exists, as they seem to have done. At one point, Ouya was listed on their website, like just adding every platform that's current to their website. I think this is just a policy they do just to have it there, just in case they decide to do something with it someday. Wii U is on there. Obviously, we know about the Wii U stuff. The 3DS is on there. I mean, guys, this has nothing to do with getting a Call of Duty game. It's not happening. I don't want to say fake news, because it's basically speculation on, well, it wasn't there earlier, so why is it there now? Well, because it took them this long to take the Switch seriously. How about that? I mean, if you thought the Switch was going to fail, why would you put it on the website? And obviously it didn't fail, so now they're going to include it on the website code as a distinct possibility of coming to Switch. It's weird because I live in commentary culture, right? I am, for, better or worse, a video game commentator, first and foremost. Yeah, there's news. Sure, we'll have hands-on impressions and gameplay and all this stuff coming out at E3, podcasts and all that, but I'm basically a commentator on news. I'm a commentator on anything in gaming, specifically about Nintendo, giving opinions, creating discussions, hopefully creating critical thought processes, both positive and negative when warranted, at least in my opinion. But in this case, it's strange to me because while I would normally be all about this speculative life, just something about this feels off. It's one thing, when we talked the other day about The Witcher 3 and a rumor out there that The Witcher 3 is coming to Switch. Okay, well, the rumor is directly that Witcher 3 is coming to Switch, whereas this time around, it's not even a rumor. There's an update to a website that includes Nintendo Switch in the source code, the same website that includes a whole bunch of platforms in the source code that Call of Duty have never been on and probably is never coming to. So it just seems like a bunch of, do we call it fake news? I don't know. It's not really news. It's just speculation. And it frustrates me seeing a bunch of people treating this as if Call of Duty is coming to Switch. And yeah, it not being announced for Switch right now today doesn't mean that Modern Warfare isn't coming to Switch, but I would venture to guess it's not. Call of Duty is a game that needs to run at 60 FPS. It's a multiplayer game. It has to run at 60. And it's just not going to do that on Switch. It'll be 30, and people aren't going to be happy with that. I honestly think that we need to be sometimes a bit more realistic about Switch. See, this is why streaming services on Switch make a lot of sense, because then you could get the Call of Duty, you could get the Assassin's Creed, the next Division, the next Dishonored, Borderlands 3, all these games running at the performance level the developers want them to run at if we had a streaming service. Without that, we do need to be a little bit realistic. And I know I've talked in the past how any third-party game, any AAA third-party game can come to Switch if they so deem. And I've talked in the past about, hey, Red Dead Redemption 2, was running on Switch, or hey, maybe we'll get the Witcher. But when we're talking about single-player games, primarily single-player games, I know there's an online component to Red Dead, but let's be honest, most people bought it for the single-player. When you're talking about primarily single-player games, I think there's a difference, because you can sacrifice performance, you can have 30 FPS, you can have sub-30 FPS in this largely single-player environment. And yes, Modern Warfare does have a campaign, but Call of Duty's, bread and butter is the multiplayer, and you're not going to have that multiplayer without a rock-solid, locked 60 FPS. So, in my opinion, I don't see this as a distinct possibility. The reason that Doom and Wolfenstein work is those games largely are considered single-player experiences. Now, I know Doom has a multiplayer component to it, and the multiplayer component's fun, and it's like the only type of shooty multiplayer game we have of that style on Switch. But I honestly think that we're at this point where we need to start realizing that Switch isn't going to get every third-party game, even if we wanted to. Even if I think the excuses are weak, even if I think it's acceptable to run it sub HD and handheld, or it's gotten to this point where I need to let you guys know to be realistic. I think Yes, we absolutely should be getting more AAA third-party support. If it's a game that's largely single-player, it absolutely should consider Switch as a primary platform. I think if it's possible to get something passable running on Switch, you should do it. I think we should be using larger cartridge sizes so people don't have to download, 20 plus gigs of data. I think we should get the next NBA. I think we should get Madden and FIFA and all those games. I think EA should bring Dragon Age over. I think Elder Scrolls 6 on Switch would be sick. But we also need to be realistic of yes, it can run on Switch, but then there's also the creative vision of the game. And oftentimes we forget that there are real people making these games. And those people have made them in a certain visual fidelity, a certain performance level that maybe they don't want to sacrifice to put on Switch because they feel like it damages their creativity. Maybe it damages their creative process with the game. Maybe it just damages the quality of the game. And sometimes developers are just not going to want to do that. And publishers especially publishers that don't have a history of massive success on Switch, are not going to want to do that. I mean, if you think about it, for those that might be upset that I'm saying this about Call of Duty, Ubisoft has a long-standing relationship with Nintendo, right? We had 2 Assassin's Creed games. We had Watch Dogs on Switch. Even though it was delayed, we still had it. We've had Mario plus Rabbids as one of the best-selling games on Switch in the United States. And yet, despite all of that, where's Ubisoft's big games coming to Switch? I mean, we got a port of Rayman Legends. That's cool. What about some new games? Yet all these games that are running on the same engine Mario plus Rabbids is on aren't coming to Switch. Why? Now maybe we'll get more at this E3, and maybe we shouldn't count our eggs before they hatch. But I do think that it's pretty clear that while we will have an occasional massive AAA multi-platform game like Mortal Kombat 11, I don't think it's going to become norm. I think Nintendo is still at this point where they don't have the full support of AAA developers, and to expect that full support to come because of an update on a website, even an official website, I think is just a tad bit silly. I mean, in hindsight, I made that video about Cadence of Hyrule, right? You would figure, well, if ever there was to make a video on, why not make a video on the release date for Cadence of Hyrule appearing on the back end of the Nintendo of America website? I made that video, and you know what happened a day later? The date changed. It went from May 30th, which was today, to June 20th. Now, is June 20th legit when May 30th wasn't? Who knows? In hindsight, was it really worth making a video about? Probably not. I probably should have, I don't know, maybe talked about it a bit on a live stream and had a discussion about it. I definitely think it's something worth talking about, but in a singular video drawing massive attention to it, it probably wasn't worth it. And I think what I learned out of that situation is stuff like this, where I'm making this video. I'm not saying that you can't believe this, that you can't hope, that you shouldn't have dreams of Call of Duty being on Switch. But I am going to tell you that, hey, just because it's on the website, don't get your hopes and expectations up, okay? That's all I want to say. Don't expect it. Be happy if it happens, but definitely don't expect it. Nothing has occurred in the past how many years since Nintendo lost third-party support to give you hope. I mean, you might even go back and, but what about the Wii? The Wii had its own version of Call of Duty. The Wii was a long time ago, and that system moved 100 million units. I would like to think Switch is on that pace, but it's about to get slapped down by a new generation. And I think it'll still be successful while that new generation comes. But for how long? I don't know. Enough to get to 100 million? Probably not. And Activision was in on Wii pretty early. They're not in on Switch, and we're in year 3. So, anyways, you guys let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. I mean, to give you an idea, Activision is a company. Remember we got the Crash Insane trilogy? That was by Activision. The only reason we got that is because a rogue employee took source code home, which you're not even supposed to do, and ported a level from it to Switch and showed it to his bosses to prove to his bosses the game could run on Switch. So when it takes that kind of leap of faith by a single employee to get a game that so obviously can run on Switch to be on Switch, now we're going to expect Call of Duty to be here? Man, I would love it to be true, but I'm just trying to be a little bit realistic here. Sorry to be kind of a Debbie Downer on this too, by the way, because I want this game on Switch. I want any Call of Duty game on Switch. I want PUBG. Like, why the hell don't we have PUBG? That can clearly run on Switch. Don't have it. Why the hell don't we have Apex Legends? Can clearly run on Switch. Don't have it. I honestly think that there are more realistic games that we should probably be trying to ask more questions about than something like Call of Duty. But hey, you know what? It's okay to want what you want. It's okay to desire what you desire. Just don't be disappointed when you end up not getting it, because Activision didn't promise you anything. They just updated their website with more current platforms. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to like this video if you like it. Subscribe for more content. Man, we got to get some positivity around here, right? Like, man, I'm going to get some podcast recording coming up, and hopefully there's more positive talk there. We got Nintendo's press conference to talk about. I guess they're Nintendo Direct. We got Square Enix is still to go. PC Gaming Show, which I'll probably briefly touch on. Ubisoft's press conference. Hopefully we get some more positive conversations coming here as we lead into E3. The E3 hype is real, folks. I am getting super excited because I literally leave a week from today. I fly the heck out of my area a week from today to go to LA and start preparing for EA Play, Nintendo stuff, Microsoft's press conference. It's going to be crazy. I hope you guys tune in for all of that coverage. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next video.